Thank you all as we prepare for the Q&A. And we're bringing in a few people from a few different places. Thank you so much. What a fabulous group of films, and really so relevant. Are we good to go? Can I start introducing? I'm going to start by introducing our moderator, who you might recognize. He's been with ReelAbilities for a few years now, and I think this is your first time. Is it not? Is it your first time moderating for us? It's your first time moderating for us, but has done a lot of fabulous interpreter work for us. Please welcome Brandon Kazen-Maddox. Brandon. Are we ready to introduce the speakers? Can we? We have here the producer of Aimee Victoria, Sana Soni. Sana, thank you so much. Gotcha. But we do have the director, Chrystee Pharris. Thank you so much. Aimee Victoria again. Natasha Ofili can you join us too? Is Natasha here? There's Natasha. And is also the director of The Multi. Storm Smith, the director of The Multi, is going to join us virtually. And Itaru Matsui, the director of Only I Can Hear, is joining virtually. There we go. And Heath Cozen,
hi everyone.
Co-director. We have Heath here as well. Heath may join us later on virtually. That's why there's an extra box there. And thank you to all the interpreters on all the different sides. And Brandon, I hand it over to you.
Great. Ooh. Hello, everyone. So we're going to need to move that camera right over here so that these guys can see what's happening. Thank you so much. And it's very exciting to be here. So hi, welcome to the Deaf Short Film screening and Only I Can Hear panel and Q&A. My name is Brandon, last name Kazen-Maddox, and I am a CODA, so a grandchild of deaf adults. My grandparents are deaf, and I'm a third generation native signer, and it's my honor to be moderating this evening. Can the Zoom panelists all see us all right? Question mark. Can we see Natasha? Can we see
I can see you, Natasha, yes.
Great. Let us know if you need alterations because we want this to be fully accessible as a panel. All right. Great, thank you. So first I want to start off with a language acknowledgement. We've heard of land acknowledgements, but I want to introduce what a language acknowledgement could be for a world like this. So as a human community, we must recognize that we have American Sign Language, ASL, because of deaf people. ASL itself is a fully formed, recognized language with 5 grammatical parameters: hand shape, movement, palm orientation, location of signs on the body, and facial expressions. We also must realize and recognize that we don't have language without culture, and ASL is the language of the culture of deaf people. Those of us who know and use ASL have our own personal relationship with the language. And it's important that we respect everyone's individual right to express themselves in the way that makes sense and makes them feel the most comfortable. Throughout this panel, you'll be seeing different modes of communication. You've got signing with your voice off, You have simultaneous communication, which is what I'm doing right now, talking and signing at the same time. And then we'll have individuals who will be using their voice and speaking through an interpreter, either spoken language or a sign language interpreter. I want to thank everyone on this panel, including our interpreters here, Andrea, Lauren, Kyle, Mandy, and our wonderful interpreter for our phenomenal Mr. Matsui. Wonderful. And now I'm going to turn my voice.
Here, do you want this one? Take it.
I would also like to emphasize our land acknowledgement and pay respect to the indigenous people, the Lenni Lenape, who stewarded this land before it was colonized by white Europeans. We acknowledge the privileges afforded to us on this land that we now call by its colonial name, Manhattan. We pledge to continue to work to repair the many years of damage done to indigenous communities of these lands. We have 5 amazing short films that feature deaf and CODA protagonists. And now we are going to meet the individuals involved in the creation of these films. I will let you introduce yourselves, starting with Natasha. And if you don't mind providing us with your name, your pronouns, your name sign, which film you were involved in, and the nature of your involvement in that film.
My mic is now off. I'm so sorry.
Oh, the mic is off.
Hi, is that better? Can everybody hear?
Okay, great.
Okay, great. Hello, I'm happy to be here. My name is Natasha. Is everybody doing wonderful? How's everyone doing? Good? Okay, good. So I am Natasha Ofili, and my name sign is the N from the chin to the shoulder. And my pronouns are she and her. I'm from California, LA. So I was a producer, writer, and actress for The Multi. And I'm also in Aimee Victoria as well. And this is our beautiful director for Aimee Victoria. I will let her introduce herself.
Yes, she is
Thank you
perfect.
to ReelAbilities for showing our film. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Chrystee Pharris. I am the director and a producer on Aimee Victoria, and I'm honored to be able to show this film in front of a deaf audience. It was fascinating to watch everyone's reaction in the audience. It made me feel great, amazing.
Great.
Awesome. And now I would like to take it to Storm Smith.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Storm Smith, and my sign name is Storm. My pronoun is she, her, and hers. And I'm from California, LA, same as Natasha. And unfortunately, I'm not able to be there in person, but I'll do anything to represent on the behalf of this beautiful short film that you just saw with Natasha. And thank you, ReelAbility, for representing us and sharing this film. And I was the director of The Multi. I don't think did I miss anything else? Is that it? Is that good?
Perfect. I think that's great.
Okay, thank you. Really happy to be here.
And now we would like to go to Nyla.
Hello, anyway,
You can communicate however you would like.
Nyla, last name Wright. I'm my side name Nyla, and I'm in Only I Can Hear and I'm just one of the 3-4 CODAs in there. And am I missing anything?
No, I think you've got it. Awesome. And then finally, let's take it to Itaru Matsui.
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Itaru. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm director of Only I Can Hear. I'm very honored to be in ReelAbilities Film Festival. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. So I would like to, we are limited on time today, so I know that I really want to get through as much discussion as we can. We have hours of content we could go through, but I'm going to focus first on the individuals here with me in the room. So I'm going to start with Natasha. Natasha, I'm so curious, how did it feel for you to have such a major role and control of your own ideas with writing, with being involved so heavily in this film, acting? How did music, switching all those hats, I mean, all those roles that you took on, can you give me a little bit of that experience?
Well, that's a great question. It was a beautiful challenge. Going through the process, wearing all the different hats, changing the hats, you know, being in Hollywood, the representation and everything, it was great. It feels great. It feels like such a huge leap has been taken. I wrote my own script, I produced it, I acted in it, and I was able to see the story and to see it now. Wow, how it's taken shape. That tunnel of being in that same deaf community and wanting to break that kind of formula and get out and just show stories that are true, that are my experiences. And that's how I wrote the script, and I invested my own money to become a full directing project. And also, I believe you have to have that sense of perspective to bring to the table with you.
Right, exactly, that deaf perspective.
And, you know, that really enriches the entire experience. And for people to see that and to be able to show that, and just the different feelings and emotions within that lens is really, oh my gosh, it's great for the whole world to be able to see now. So I'm very happy to make that movie with the multi. It was really just a beautiful process, and that feeling of control was amazing. I encourage all of you to find your inspiration and do the same. You can do it. Just to let you know, you can, you got it.
Awesome. Yes, that is absolutely something I'm always emphasizing to others, is to find your passion, to as a BIPOC person, as whatever community you are involved in, to really build those relationships, to really weather that storm. And also your work here with Chrystee, I mean, it was so important. And this is Chrystee's name sign, correct? Yes. And so I actually want to take it to Chrystee now. And so in that film, in the
Aimee
the
Victoria.
Aimee Victoria.
Perfect. Yes.
Thank you. So how did you feel working with Natasha, with someone in the deaf community?
With Stephanie also.
With Stephanie as well. How was that process for you? And using interpreters, as well as having deaf artists and other people involved in this film, and directors and all of that. Can you just give us some of your perspective on that experience?
Yes, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I had. When I started, when they asked me to direct, I didn't know that my actresses were going to be deaf. It started off as a web series. So this was one of 7 of the web series. This one became so popular that we pulled it out and turned it into a film festival. What was amazing was me trying to figure out how to communicate with a deaf actress. And it was challenging because we did this during the height of COVID, which was like, I want to say maybe June. We sent iPhones to all of the actors, and we asked her husband to be the DP to actually do the camera work while I directed over Zoom. So how do I direct over Zoom, first of all? And then how do I direct a deaf actress when I don't know sign language at all? Luckily, Google Meets was available for us. And then I just had to, show my body and communicate the best way that I could to get what I needed out of her. Now, what I do want to add about this experience for me was it made me realize that maybe my whole life I might actually just be talking to people and not really listening to see if it lands and really communicating with people. And this taught me to really communicate with people to make sure what I was saying was actually landing. And being able to work with this incredible actress, I have now become an advocate, just so that you know, if you guys go see Color Girls, she went to go see Color Girls. They didn't have an interpreter. I emailed one of the producers last night and said, you guys need an interpreter. And he said he's going to do his best to do that.
Yes, she did.
So it seems to me like the advocacy level got bumped up for you.
Because I never knew that. I mean, that's just like, you know, when people will say, I don't have Black friends, you know, I don't have a white friend or an Asian friend. I realized I had no friends in the deaf community. And so it was just something I was blind to. And now I'm like, hey, anybody want to be my friend? You know? So this was wonderful for me as well.
That is amazing. Thank you for that. And again, I wish we could just keep going because there's so much rich, beautiful content, but we only have so much time. So I'm going to pass it to Storm Smith right now, working with, you know, how was it, Storm? How was working with Natasha? How was being a co-director? And I'm curious about your role, you know, assisting in Natasha's vision. As a fellow deaf, BIPOC, Black woman, tell us something.
Sure. Really, again, Natasha and I have been friends prior. You know, we're good friends, beautiful relationship. We do creativity together. We hang out together. So then we collaborated a project prior, where we had, you know, really strong advocacy for BIPOC and the LGBTQIA communities, trans and non-binary, just a social impact storytelling, especially BIPOC point of view, because it's not often seen in the world coming from a deaf perspective. So then Natasha reached out and said, yes, you know, I'm writing a script. Do you mind looking at it? And I'm like, sure, I'll look at it. So I read it. I was like, oh, it really hit me because I could relate as a Black deaf woman myself, you know, the heavy theme on mental health, you know, it really is significant to leverage and show the world on an intersectional scale. It's not often discussed or shown. So I was like, oh, it's beautiful. Yes. And then she asked me, do you mind directing it? And I'm like, yes, it's a heartbeat. Yes. So it was a real honor. Not only that she trusted me to direct her envision and her script and her characters to become alive, but to honor with all the BIPOC women, you know, specifically with so many multiple identities, you know, through different types of mental health, especially during the pandemic. It really is hard. And the resources available out there so we need to deal with our own ongoing internal and external trauma that we're still processing. So it's not easy as you would think. You know, maybe we're going on, but we're still dealing with the trauma as a BIPOC. So, you know, I said yes, and so we directed it, and I honored and I kept the her craft and each of all the story and all the scenes and the character, understanding each character, Sade and Amara, just all the different elements, you know, working with the DP, Cooper, and everyone on set. But my number one thing was Natasha and her vision. And it was well received and it was delivered. And the best part, during the pandemic, I directed it remotely. You know, so it was the first time. I didn't know what to expect, and Natasha didn't know. We wanted to make sure that we had all that, but still, to do this story justice, and we were able to do it. We had 2 interpreters, and we had Zoom, and we had everything available, and we had straight communication and sign language with Natasha. So it really, really was a rewarding experience, and to actually see the emotion conveyed and delivered with everyone, especially in this world that's going through, and they could feel it. It was relatable. And Natasha said, not often is this seen, you know, the same formula, but it was unique and universal human experience, and it needed to be, you know, and to be able to show and execute. So this is one of the many. I couldn't be more honored to have directed this story for Natasha and for everyone. So I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Oh, yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Storm, for all of that. And I could listen so much more to you, but again, you know, we have to get our time going. And so now with Itaru Matsui. So I'm so curious about when we're talking about mental health, and as far as CODAs are concerned in this world that we live in this hearing world. In that movie, Only I Can Hear, I mean, wow, I was blown away by these 3 or 4 different CODAs perspectives, and also the cultural shift and the dynamics between Japanese sign and American Sign Language. I'd like to know your perspective on that, as far as the Japanese deaf community and the American deaf community goes. Have you seen interconnectivity between the two, or is there distinct differences? What is your experience, especially after directing Only I Can Hear?
Okay, I will try to explain. My connection started with children of deaf adults. Oh, sorry. Please help me, Nyla. Interpret. Please interpret. Okay, is that okay? Okay.
You mean like sign or what?
Sign.
Oh, like help you like with the information.
Yeah. My connection started with children of deaf adults, CODAs, when I made a film 7 years ago about the Tohoku tsunami. Many deaf people died at that time because they couldn't hear the alarms. I met a Japanese man who lost his deaf parents through our film. He told me that he never truly understood them. His story moved me deeply and helped me discover the world of children of deaf adults. Yes, that might express, Nanda.
Perfect.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you so much. It's such valuable experience, and you learn so much from working with many amazing people who have all these unique cultural experiences and differences. And thank you for your unique cultural experience. And now, Nyla, again, from the beginning of this panel, you expressed yourself however you want, and I want you to know that you can communicate however you'd like to. If you want to utilize the interpreters, or if you would like to talk for yourself, or both at the same time, whatever works for you. So my question for you is, talking again about mental health and bringing that back to the table. When you went to CODA, the camp, how did that influence your own mental health and your relationship with your family, who's all deaf? I mean, you're an OCODA, the only hearing person in your family. Wow. I mean, that's a very unique experience. So when you went to that CODA camp, how did that feel for you? What was that experience like? And I mean, are you ready to go back?
I'm excited, but
Yes, to go there and to see that a few years ago and to see all of my growth and pain and suffering and everything from that point till now, it was really a lot for me related to mental health. Yes, there was anxiety, but I didn't really realize I had that anxiety. I wasn't really sure the genesis of it. I felt some confusion, and that led to some other issues. But, you asked about mental health. When I went to the CODA camp, it's not so much to help me find my identity as it was to see that, oh, we all have these similar backgrounds. We all are struggling with our identity. We're all in the same place. So that after that, I really felt some growth after going to the CODA camp that time. But now, as for going back, after that time that I was at camp that you saw, I mean, after that, I definitely, in training, but that was, I wondered, okay, peace out. I went and I came back. Would I go back? I wasn't really sure at the time if that's something I would go back to. I still do have some struggles with mental health. Yes, I mean, I think everybody does. Most of us do. And you can appreciate that, right? But just, finding my identity, it wasn't just that I found my identity at CODA camp, more so that I wasn't even really aware that I was so much searching for my identity. But then when I started to, and then how that drew on my mental health, I don't know. It's hard to, it's hard to explain, really. I know there's a lot there. It's just, I think that for now, I'm moving to Colorado. And, I had been living in Indiana, and in terms of deaf people who I know now that I'm in Colorado, I realize how much I miss the deaf community in Indiana. And, this is part of my journey. And, I'm trained to become an ASL interpreter, and I don't know, but maybe that'll be for later. So it's a little bit about me.
Oh, yes, that is amazing. Thank you for all of that and discussing your background. So one really important thing that I would like to emphasize and really highlight from this film, Only I Can Hear, is the woman named Ashley Ryan. She was directing that film and going through that whole process of the film while she was pregnant, and she was going to be having a baby soon. So that means that she was working on this film and also was going to have a baby. And then she ended up having a baby boy who could hear. And so she was teaching him sign language. And that's really important because deaf culture and the deaf community is really so rich, and there's so much. I mean, it is such a strong foundation for her, and it was very important to her and how she really started to grow. It was almost the soil from which she grew into herself, and it planted the seeds for everything that she became. And so that culture was very important to her. So I'm curious, and so this, I think, is for everybody. If you've had similar experiences with the deaf community, with ASL, and that's really led you to grow and to become what you are today. And also from that deaf lens, as in the film, Only I Can.
I'm going to speak for myself really quickly. Thank you so much. It's very complex, what I'm kind of trying to put out. So again, just really quickly, Ashley Ryan in the film had a sentence that said, that deaf community and deaf culture is like a rich soil that language is planted in and that she grew from, and that her child is also able to grow from this same soil. And that soil is deaf people, and it's the deaf community, and it's deaf culture. And when we make art, film, what have you, we should bring the deaf culture into our work and the deaf perspective into our work. So I just wanted to, I'm curious, going really quickly, and then we have to wrap. The deaf eyes that were on your work, how did you feel about having deaf eyes behind the camera, making sure that the sign language was captured, or in the editing room, making sure that the clips captured the sign language? Just really quickly, I would love to go through and just say how important it is for each of you to have the deaf eyes and deaf people on work that has to do with sign language. We'll start with Natasha.
Yes, thank you. I think that during the editing process for the multi, it was a huge experience for me, because looking at that perspective with the editing and going back and forth with the perspective of what's on Zoom and the deaf perspective, the hearing perspective, it was like, oh, hold on, we should all kind of have the same perspective here. It should be from my perspective, because it's important to have those eyes on the editing, so that the whole story is kind of there, and it's just appropriate to have those accommodations. Hollywood needs to have more deaf people behind the scenes, for sure.
Thank you so much.
It was
you.
Yes, it was just,
Chrystee.
it was important for us to make sure that we had somebody look at it. I remember having Natasha, to look at it to make sure that we had everything correctly, because we had to go back and re-edit because you couldn't see the hands in certain places. And I was like, absolutely not. We are not putting that in. You're going to have to find another way. So we had to go back and re-edit, because I made sure that, the deaf community could really be a part of it and not miss half of what was going on.
Beautiful, thank you. And then let's go to Storm.
Yes, I agree. What Natasha and Chrystee said is very significant. And from the signing perspective, not just signs, but the body language, the facial expressions, that comes with the culture as well, with all the different identities. And so you need to continue to honor that. Otherwise, it will be a miss. You'll miss the mark. And at the beginning, Natasha gave me the opportunity to be involved in the editing process from a Black deaf woman perspective. And then we handed it off to the editor, where Natasha had full decisions and final decisions with the creative, and the results were fitting, and it was right representation. So that's important.
And then Mr. Matsui, a director of ASL, people who are deaf, having the perspective of deaf people. That is important for you. Is that right?
Oh, sorry. Can I hear again your question? Sorry.
Of course, yes. We're just talking about the deaf perspective on any art. So your film having deaf perspective on your film, do you think that that was important in the creation of Only I Can Hear?
Yes, definitely. It's so hard to change my mind to make this documentary, because I'm hearing, and I cannot do the ASL and the Japanese Sign Language. And I first time to contact the deaf world when 7 years ago. And so I trying to understand what the deaf world and the deaf culture and what the sign language, but yeah, very hard. So I at their editing. So first time editing, so basically a documentary method is using their words, voiceover, like voiceover. so I trying that one once, but it's not working. So I'm trying again with so I trying to become the coders. That is okay. So I trying to read the images and leading the body by eye. That's the word I understand. So I a little bit close the deaf word at that time. So I can I could do the editing this film.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And then just to the last, Nyla, I would love to hear about your perspective. I mean, as an CODA and the art that you make, the deaf perspective, how cherished, how precious is it?
Priceless. It's a whole nother thing. But it's, I mean, CODA, I can't explain how precious. And like going to like, even though sometimes like, you know, some like growing up, some of the teenagers, you know, like, oh, like they still look me, I'm hearing, but I identify like CODA. But I think just seeing what my parents go through, my grandparents, cousins, everything just makes me obviously like just makes it more precious. And I think also going to CODA camp and seeing other CODAs talk about their family, their experiences, it just makes everything more precious. And as time goes on, get older, it's just hard to explain how precious, but I'm just so grateful for my experiences and, you know, that I can like, it gives me an opportunity to help because it gives me that different perspective. But I think that's it.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. We got to wrap. Thank you all so much for your beautiful, diverse perspectives. And thank you to ReelAbilities and thank you to Isaac. Thanks all of you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Thank you to all our participants. I want to thank AMC Networks once again for supporting our short films and for Pfizer for supporting all of our conversations. I want to thank everybody who made this happen. I'm sorry we didn't have time to get to audience questions. I know that this is something that we love making you a part of, and please join us for more conversations here at ReelAbilities. We actually have another film starting here in like 2 minutes. The other Tom, you're welcome to stay for it. It's a wonderful independent film about a young boy with ADHD and his relationship with his mother. Please join us. We're here till Wednesday. Join us for more and tell your friends. Thank you. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you.